Welcome back, traders and investors, to Benzinga's pre-market prep, brought to you by MarketFi. I'm your co-host Joel L. Conan, along with Spencer Israel, and I'm talking to Rachel Shasha. She's a trader and blogger at Sassy Options. Rachel, how you doing on this Wednesday morning?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Well, first, we always like your overall take on the market. 200 S&P points above the flash crash lows, coming into some resistance here at the 2030 level. Do you see some continued upside for the market?
It's definitely a tricky spot.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 2 weeks, I have been very adamant about stay on the track for higher prices. It's tricky because we haven't even had any kind of pullback really at all. And so, of course, there's that expectation. Of course, there's going to be something that's going to shake us out. But right now, I don't necessarily see it going much higher from here at this point, like in terms of this week, short term. But I don't think he's short either. This is not. I don't see the environment to short. There's no reason to short yet. So it's tricky. I mean, it's kind of like that time where we just, that we had it in 2014 and some of 2013 where you just kind of grind slowly higher and every pullback is bought.
Would you wait? I mean, would you wait for a technical formation for a setup? Because our last guest, Farah, he said, he's long. His systems are telling to be long. It doesn't feel right, but that's what he's doing. He said it's analog work until they don't work. Are you looking for some kind of a technical formation or a macro trigger? I mean, we are here in the midst of earnings season, or is it just a gut feeling when you have a market turn?
I mean, there's a few things. Like, I always think it often, like, when you get a turnaround, it often happens with a catalyst. So, like, tomorrow is that whole, possible QE with Europe. And then, next week is FOMC. So those could kind of, like, push it in one direction. Like, you see, like, a big spike up, followed by a drop that doesn't last and something like that. But there's also, like, every day I check things like 20-day lows, 20-day highs, and see if it's still following on track. Like, it's, like all of 2015, basically, the stocks above 50-day moving average, stuff like that, kept just leaning, lower as prices went higher. That's not a sign that there's anything supporting this market high, to go up. Right now, we're actually seeing signs. Things are being bought. So until I see a change in that, also, it tells me it's not the right time to short.
All right, let's get right to the Goldman Sachs indicator here, and the financials when they didn't pull the interest rate the hike, they've had a little bit of a pullback there, but you're coming back. Boy, oh boy, I'm just looking at this 186 and a half level, trading below that right now, quad top there. What is the Rachel Shasha Goldman Sachs options indicator telling us today?
For this week, it's telling me it's pretty much sideways neutral. And, you might go a little bit lower, a little higher. It's Goldman Sachs spikes to 190. I think it's probably time to, unless it's like Friday at the end of the day, it's probably time for a little bit of a pullback or a pause. So it's not giving me much information this week. Just that it's going to be steady growing probably. Which is what we see.
Sometimes no information is good information, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and I mean, typically during the week there is at one point some kind of shakeout. In a trending market that's going higher, which I guess you could say could have been yesterday, but I don't think so. I feel like there's still one to come. I mean, I would say buy the dip, but and I'm just talking in terms of like weekly options. So if you're someone who's swinging for a couple weeks, 3 weeks, don't worry about it. But if you're in weekly call options for on the long side, I don't know. I just feel like somewhere around today, tomorrow, there's going to be one of those little shakeouts. Which typically always happens during the week.
All right, so you had some bad news on Tesla yesterday, and pretty substantial news here. It came out at a time in the day, 10:30, 10:50, I believe it came out. Not a lot of liquidity. You had a big sell-off there. Got within 7 points of the flash crash low, and then you got a little bit of a rebound here. I believe some analysts came out with some positive comments. Please give us your take on Tesla Motors.
Personally, right now, I would short into any rip. It's still in a downtrend. It's you could if we see like a really nice looking candle coming in or like some follow through over the 200-day moving average, maybe because you could make the case for the double bottom or close to, but it's still in a downtrend to me right now. And I don't know how this news is going to affect it. I don't think it's wonderful news, but it hasn't really followed. Like things such as Google or Amazon or whatever are still grinding high or Priceline. One of the big no names, and Tesla hasn't really followed. So I don't know. To me, right now, sell the rip.
And those cars are just so expensive. I mean, what can the average consumer, and we'll see what they do as far as their sales go, but definitely got a lot of upgrades at the 265, 270 level, and we'll see how it defends. The flash crash low is at 195. Moving on to some earnings stocks here. Big pop in General Motors here. Got over $35. I couldn't get Dennis to take a bet that it wouldn't close over 35. Nice run in that issue. Give us your take on General Motors.
I think these cars are doing okay now, like the Ford, the GM. I think they're starting to recover a little bit. But in all honesty, I don't trade stocks like that just because for weekly options, I want a big move.
Okay.
And so typically I don't trade ones that are slow movers, but they do look like they're starting to recover these older car companies. So I mean, I do see upside for them in the future.
All right, Apple, the sleeping giant, had 3 days a little over a 2.5-point range, broke above the 112.5 level. I believe we have earnings coming up later this month here. You chasing Apple here, 114 and change, or just try and find? It's probably just going to try and find a new trading range.
Maybe I'm a sucker, but I kind of like Apple, and I like what it did yesterday. It reminds me of, if you remember last week, Facebook had this enormous spike in like the early part of the week. I can't remember what day it was, and then it just kind of did nothing, and then ripped on Friday. So I don't know. It kind of reminds me of that buying. I think it's somewhat relevant, the buying we saw yesterday, and there's going to be a lot of resistance at 115. So I don't know if I don't know if it's going to get through there this week, but I kind of have confidence that it might. And those Bollinger Bands on the chart are pinching, so I think it could. I like it. I'm positive on it, but again, I could be biased because I love Apple.
Okay. You've mentioned a couple times during our conversation here, Friday, the trading action on Friday. Now, with the advent of weekly options, has certainly made Fridays a lot more interesting and volatile. Also, going into the weekend, a lot of people like to lighten up or add positions here. Is that your feel? I mean, do you think things have picked up with, the increase in the weekly options, or have you kind of always followed that Friday close, Monday follow through?
I think Friday, in terms of weekly options, I feel like if anything, they've ruined Fridays. Because for the most Fridays, there's a few that aren't like that, and there's a few where you can just make a boatload with those weekly lottos, But for the most part, I feel like everything just ends up pinning, and so there's so little movement on Friday, and I find it pretty much an irrelevant day lately. It's hard to trade on those days. Selling premium is probably the best bet on a Friday. But in terms of follow through and stuff, if I saw something crazy happening, like in August, at the end of August when it was dropping, insane amounts, then yeah, I find that there's some relevance to take away from that for the next week moving forward. But for the most part, if it's just one of those just grinding days where nothing happens, I don't see much relevance on it.
Yeah, a lot of times there's a lot of pinning, and then once that action is cleared out, you get the nice follow through on the following Monday. That's a great point here. Moving on to some other stocks here. Twitter spent some time above 31, above in the 30 handle, found some resistance at 31.50. Now you get a downgrade here from Morgan Stanley, pretty substantial one here. Is it just something you're kind of gonna wait for a little bit of a pullback here, or just not a fan of Twitter, going to hop on the short side?
I would say say watch it today. If on this downgrade, it actually closes higher, I think that bodes well for the stock moving forward, at least until earnings, because I think earnings is really what's going to set the tone for it. But prior to earnings, I think if it can hold its own today and recover from, go from red to green, I think you probably buy it. Just if you're looking for like a small setup or a runner before earnings. But if it falls back on it, I don't know. Then I say let it go.
So how you doing in your Weight Watchers stock?
Oh gosh, man, what an insane move, right?
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Can you imagine weekly options on that?
Yeah, boy, oh boy, that thing got down to $5. Big investment by Oprah. They give her a seat on the board of directors. I mean, you could be skeptical. Actually, Dennis called it yesterday, and he was like, "Don't stand in front of this." And boy, oh boy, here we are. We're trading up another stick here. 1936. That's trading right at the pre-market high. 1950 is your pre-market. 1957. Yesterday's high was 1915. What's your take on Weight Watchers?
I have to imagine that a lot of this is short covering.
Good point.
It keeps going higher. What are they going to do? I would not buy it here. Yes, it keeps going higher, but this is not something I would touch. Why mess with this? Why mess with something that is, you don't know what's going to happen. So volatile. It's news driven. It's short interest driven. I'm sure it's going to pull back. I can't imagine it's going to keep going forever. It's going to, in the next few days, have a substantial pullback. But why mess with it? It's mess with something I feel like that has a better risk reward than something that you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Not that you know anything for all the market, but it's just like it's erratic.
This is one, and never condone, adding to losing positions. But really, the only way that you're going to catch this one is if you do some selling. A very small lot goes up a little bit more. You sell a little bit more. You can also get rolled doing that, but it's just impossible to pick
right.
Pick a top in this one. Options are also another possible way to go.
Just seems tedious. I'll tell you the two that I'm watching right this morning because I'm actually in them. I do every year. I pick a few stocks that I lotto on for earnings. So one of them was CMG. I bought 650 puts. They're weekly, so I got to get out quick. But I did look back and I noticed that. So it's at 652.5 right now. I looked back at the last time that they went down.
Came back,
the
right?
last couple times they went down. No, they didn't. They continued lower that day. So I don't know. It's a tricky one. But so I could just jump back because it is a bull market. But I think that I'm sure it's going to vacillate once it opens. But I think it might go lower today.
Take off. Are you a fan of taking off a quarter or taking off a half?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I might take it all off. I probably will take it all off because I'm not. if I'm going to have a good profit, I'm not just going to throw it away on this huge spike. But then I can always get back in. So I feel like if you're not in it and you want to participate, I think selling rips might work today on the CMG. If it's based on what it's done in the past.
All right, we got a couple.
And then also.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, you go ahead with your.
The last one I'm in is BIIB. I have calls, but they're not weekly. They're November. But I think that watch BIB because I think if it continues higher today, I think it's going to bode well for a lot of the biotech industry.
And the same for we got a question here on the IBB, the Internet Index here. Any take on that? Not internet. IBB. I'm sorry, not internet. Biotech.
Oh, biotech. I think that I don't know if it's I can't imagine that this is it, that it's recovered now and we're just going to go straight back up. But I'm not going to call it that it's not. It hit a great trend line on a weekly chart, and it's so far it's holding up just fine. So I think watch earnings and see how things react. So like I said, for right now, I think it's okay. I think it has room to go higher right now, but I think the next time that the market stalls, that's probably going to break that trend line this time.
All right, we got a stock. I don't know if we've ever talked about on the show here. Herman Miller, MLHR. Rob Hood is looking at the stock. Looks like you had a breakout yesterday. Unchanged here in the market with the SPOOs up 10, 32.28. Yesterday's highs closed right there. I was just looking at the monthlies here, and this 32, 32 and a half level has been resistance going all the way back since January. January
Forever.
14th. Yeah, forever. What's your take here on Herman Miller? It's a furniture store out of Michigan, isn't it? Am I guessing on that one, Brent? Brent's nodding his head yes. What did you take on Herman Miller?
I mean, it looks good. It looks good, and the recent volume, has in the last since July has been pretty nice. So, I mean, if you're an investor, I think stay the course. But I mean, as a short-term trader, I don't know. I don't see much interest in it. If it breaks higher, great, but it's also a little bit extended right now. So maybe if you're short-term, if you're looking for something short-term, I would wait for it to pull back a bit. It might still go higher, but then wait for it to dip a little bit. But as an investor, it looks great, actually.
Yeah, actually, I said 2014, going back to early 2013. It even struggled with that area. So keep an eye on our Herman Miller shares today. Just get your take just on the commodities. I don't know if you follow any of the stocks related here. Crude's kind of just been hanging out here, but this Exxon Mobil and Chevron have had some pretty extended runs here. Any take on Exxon Mobil or Chevron?
Yeah, I don't really.
You don't follow them? Okay.
I don't really trade those stocks just because I don't know what's going on with them, and I feel like they're so volatile with oil. They could be telling us that there's a bottom in oil by the way they're moving. So, but I don't know. I don't really follow.
There's nothing wrong. Hey, if you don't have an opinion on something, I mean, it seems like you have your stable of stocks that you like to follow. Any shorts in your portfolio today, or shorts looking to put on?
Shorts looking to put on. I would say if you're looking for shorts, maybe Coors, Fossil.
Okay.
Best Buy. I like those as shorts, even possibly in earnings. And for earnings, the short that I want to take, which do not follow me if you have my record on this stock. I'm warning anyone now. I have a bad record with this stock because I always somehow short it at the wrong time. I do not like LinkedIn. I do not see why it is that high and has that high of a PE. And so LinkedIn is my favorite short. So, it probably will, because when I short it, it goes higher. But I'm just telling you right now that I will be watching that after earnings. I will be in puts, and I will be printing.
Okay. All right. You don't do anything in the home building sector, right, at all? XBH?
No, but I do like Home Depot. It's great.
Okay, Home Depot looks good. And final stock, XL here, just consolidating here at the $38 level. I don't know if there's been any kind of news on it lately, but I believe is SL an insurance company? 38 looks like major resistance to me. What do you see in shares of XL?
If you look at a weekly chart, it's been holding up very nicely for the most part. I think, like you said, 38, but once you see 38, I don't see why I wouldn't see 40, which is the all-time highs.
Okay, we've been on the line with Rachel Shasha. She's a trader and blogger at Sassy Options. She joins us to give us her input on the market. Thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.